Today, we'll be bringing you the recap of the concluding episodes of the series, Blood Sisters. That's right, we finally hear the climax of it all, the conclusion of the saga of the two girls' fight for their lives. How will it end? Stay with us as we find out. Let's go. This episode's scene begins with Sarah lying unconscious on a slab while the Good Samaritan doctor prepares her for an operation. All this time, an unaware Kemi is still in the shower. Having completed his examination of Sarah, he comes in unannounced as Kemi is dressing up and attacks her with a scalpel. He knocks her unconscious and drags her away. Uncle B continues tailing Kenny, who himself arrives at the seaside of the house of the Good Samaritan doctor. He knocks on the door, and when the doctor appears, he asks for Sarah, but the doctor says he does not know anyone by that name. Kenny has the phone in his hand, and from which he confirms the pin location on it. While he's distracted, the doctor, who has been hiding the scalpel behind his back all this while, swings it and slices Kenny's throat with it. Kenny drops to the ground as he slowly bleeds out. As he drags Kenny inside, Kemi smashes a piece of furniture on his head from behind and knocks him out. She goes in search of Sarah and finds her unconscious. Unfortunately, she also finds a pair of kidneys in an ice box. She carries her friend out into the Mercedes-Benz Kenny was driving and drives out past Uncle B, who hits a bike man as he tries to turn around. He calls someone named Tijano and tells him the girls are heading towards Okegun and asks him to meet him there. At the police station, Inspector Joe's boss rallies his men as they head out. Femi arrives at his home and complains to his wife, Yinka, about the state of the vaccine deal. He says he's been calling their minister friend, but the man has refused to take his calls. His wife asks him if his mother knows about the situation. Femi fears for his job, but Yinka tells him not to worry, as she would look up some of her connections to the Ministry of Health. He then tells her about the conversation with Inspector Joe about knowing Blade. She asks him if the inspector believed him. He says he thinks so, but she's not impressed with his response. She's worried about what would happen if the police find out he was implicated, but he reassures her they would not. In another scene, we find Akin with Princess, who mentions to him that she has kept her end of the bargain by not telling anyone. Aki concludes that Kola must have hit her. He tells her to speak out for the sake of the girls who are on the run. Princess doesn't think they will get justice. She takes off the eye patch she had been wearing as we see a badly damaged eye. She says Kola did that to her and that he forced her to sit still while he made a drawing of her in that condition. The magnitude of the real person of Kola begins to dawn on Akin. In her clinic rehab, Timenyi is having a nightmare. She disturbs the sleep of her colleague who is upset. An argument ensues and both ladies fight, during which Timenyi stabs her. The caregivers arrive and haul her away to the prayer room for deliverance prayers. The next morning, Uncle B and both ladies wake up in their car. Uncle B calls Tijano again and asks for an update. Tijano, we see, happens to be Inspector Joe's bosses and he is at the seaside home. Uncle B wonders why he isn't after the girls, but Tijano tells him that the seaside home is a crime scene and is part of an ongoing investigation. Back in their car, Sarah notices that Kemi is bleeding. Kemi informs her that the good doctor is an organ harvester and that Kenny was at the house to rescue them. She tells her that Kenny gave them their car and went home. She doesn't tell her about his death. At their home, Blade calls Femi for a meeting, but Yinka kicks against it, saying that Blade will keep asking for more money. The couple ponder on what to do. Meanwhile, at the rehab center, Timenyi receives an unlikely visitor. Inspector Joe comes calling. He presents the picture of Blade to her. She recognizes him as the guy who got kicked out of the wedding. She then proceeds to tell the inspector if he thinks he killed Kola, to which the inspector says maybe. Timenyi mentions remembering what Kola had told her about looking to Femi in the event of his demise and tells the inspector to please get her out of the rehab center. The inspector says he will see what he can do. While Kola prepares himself for his meeting with Blade, a weakened Kemi gives Sarah directions to Okegun even as her wound starts to hurt more and more. Arriving at his home, Femi gives Blade the bag of money, and as he counts it, Femi pulls out a gun. Amid taunts from Blade, Femi is unable to shoot, but suddenly, his bodyguard barges in and shoots Blade. We see Yinka step into the house with him. Sarah arrives at a village with a weakened Kemi. She carries her out of the car and together they stumble from house to house in the rural village. Sarah knocks on doors asking for help, but no one comes out to help her as Kemi bleeds. Within the community, we see a procession of traditional worshippers in a burial rite. A woman from one of the doors tells Sarah that the king died the previous week and that the worshippers are performing human sacrifices to usher the king into the great beyond. At Femi's home, Femi can't get over how easy it was for his wife to order the killing of Blade right in front of him. She accuses him of not being able to do it himself. Their heated argument eventually leads to a bout of passionate lovemaking, as it often does with the couple. While the brazen couple make out, a snoopy Inspector Joe arrives at Blade's home, knocks but gets no reply. He knocks the door down and sees the assassin's body on the ground. At the station, he tries to convince his boss about the link between Femi and the deaths of Blade and Kola, but his boss insists that the suspects remain Sarah and Kemi. He shows the inspector a report of the latest murders and tells them that it's the girls and tells him to stay away from the Ademola family. Back at the village hut, the new benefactor nurses Kemi back to health. She tells Sarah that they can stay the night but that they would have to leave first thing in the morning. While the lovebirds are busy doing what adults do, they hear a commotion outside and head to the door. Inspector Joe, who had been trying to get past their bodyguard, barges in and accuses Femi of killing Blade after using him to kill Kola. Yinka calls his boss, Tijano, as the inspector promises it's not over. Amid the celebrations to bury the king, Sarah supports a now stronger looking Kemi as they leave. Kemi tells Sarah the truth about Kenny. She tells him that Kenny died at the hands of the doctor while trying to save them. The news is too much for Sarah as she cries. Her friend comforts her. Having left the medical center, Uncle B continues his search for the girls. Meanwhile, at the police station, Inspector Joe insists on bringing in Femi for questioning. Tijano tells him that Yinka laid a complaint to the Inspector General and asked him to focus on arresting the girl. The inspector responds by asking Tijano how much he was paid by the Ademola family. Aki searches for clues in Kola's house about his friend's unusual pastime. He comes upon a secret room where he finds, to his dismay, drawings of Kola's girlfriends in various situations of abuse. Shocked, he quickly calls Kemi but gets a busy tone. He drops a message telling her that he now believes her. On the road, the girls come across a roadblock. Sarah tells Kemi that they would have to walk. She helps her along as they go off-road on foot. Kemi is still very weak. At the rehab center, Timayi manages to distract the pastor by making out with him while she takes his keys. She uses it to open the door and locks him inside before running away free. Off-road, Sarah is finding it difficult to support Kemi, who can't walk any further. She collapses to the ground as Sarah runs to get help. Aki has now found the inspector. He hands him the drawings and tells him that it's proof the girls were defending themselves. But the inspector informs Aki that he's off the case and that there's nothing more he can do for the girls, seeing as there are higher forces at play. Aki tells him to keep the pictures, look at them again, and see if he can change his mind. At the Ademola household, Timenyi busts in on the family having dinner. As Femi threatens to take her back to the rehab center, she tells her mom about Femi's involvement with Blade, the assassin. There and then, Femi confesses that he knows Blade, but I could not carry out the job before being found out and thrown out. He blames his mother for how everything had turned out and for the way she treated him and everyone else ever since Kola was born. Despite him being the firstborn, Udwak loses it and starts throwing plates at Femi, calling him a murderer. Femi hurriedly ushers his family out while Timenyi cradles her mother as the grief-stricken woman cries her heart out. But suddenly, just when we think the hard-hearted matriarch has softened towards Timenyi, she tells her daughter that this changes nothing and that she would not hand over the family company to her. She gets up calm as a cucumber and leaves a distraught-looking Timei. Timei, asleep, has a nightmare in which we see a car swerve and hit someone. She wakes up with a gasp, crying, and holds the picture of a man to her chest as she cries. Kemi too wakes up with a start. We find that she is on a bed with Sarah by her side. Beside her also is an old woman. She cries on the woman's laps as the woman gives praises to God for her safety. This is her grandmother. She tells her granddaughter that hot water has been set out for her and that she will personally massage and scrub her down. Grandma thanks God it is all over. But it's not really over, is it? As we see Uncle B still in search of the girls. He is seen driving and asking directions to Okebo. Kemi's grandmother tells her that Sarah has told her everything. She tells her granddaughter that they can both stay with her, but Kemi says that they may yet look for them there. Both women wonder where the girls would stay. Uncle B and Tijano, together with a force of policemen, now go looking for the girls. Unknowingly, to the three happy women, the force approaches. As Sarah goes to answer a knock on the door, Uncle B and the policemen barge in and arrest the girls. Uncle B tells Tijano that the girls are his. He takes them into custody of himself and puts them in his car. Back at the Ademola house, Uduak tells Uncle B to meet her at the old warehouse. Timei overhears her and asks her why the warehouse, which has been abandoned for years. Uduak informs her daughter that the girls have finally been apprehended and that she's finally going to get justice for her son. Timei asks to come with her and Uduak agrees. At the warehouse, Femi arrives as well with his wife. As they are gathered, Uduak tells the siblings that they have both been a disappointment to her. She tells Femi especially that if he wants to reclaim his position at the head of the family, he should kill Sarah and Femi, who she tells them has been apprehended by Uncle B. Just then, we see a flashback of Inspector Joe receiving a phone message from Timei informing him that her mother has found the girls and that she's about to kill them at the old warehouse. Finally, Uncle B arrives with the girls. They are cuffed with their hands behind their backs. Uduak tells them that because they had killed her son, which is the only reason she leaves, they will pay the ultimate price. She tells Uncle B to give Femi the gun. He takes it and points it at the girls' heads, one after the other, but he hesitates. Uduak asks him to shoot, but still he hesitates. His wife jumps in and tells him to do it. He brushes her off and blames her for leading them all into becoming murderers. Just then, Sarah stands up and tells them that Kola was a monster who used to beat her. Kemi too gets up and tells them that Kola was trying to kill Sarah on the day of the engagement. Uduak knew all about it but chose to cover up for him and helped him ruin many girls' lives. Uduak counters by saying that they deserved it because they did not love Kola for himself and that they only loved him for his money. As Femi continues to hesitate, Uncle B takes the gun and prepares to shoot, but Timei jumps in and asks to be the one to take over from the head of the family. She asks to be the one to shoot the girls. She takes the gun from Uncle B, points it at the girls, and then turns round and shoots Uncle B in the back. Everyone is surprised, most of all Uduak. Timei then accuses Uduak of being jealous of her bond with her father. But Uduak scornfully says her father was a directionless man who was nothing before she met him. Timei then says that her father had found out Uduak was cheating on him and that Kola was not his son, and that she says was why she killed him. She says the reason she started drinking and taking drugs was because she found out the truth and wanted to forget, but that instead she was sent to rehab, where she got better and remembered everything. Uduak confesses. Timei then asks Yinka to uncuff the girls. The girls are released and they run away. Now Timei has all three persons in her sights: Femi, Yinka, and Uduak. She looks like she's about to shoot all three family members. The girls run right into the inspector, who is just arriving at the scene. They run and hide as the inspector calls out to them, telling them he wants to help them and that he knows the truth about Kola. Sarah wants to go to him, but Kemi is afraid. Sarah says that she's tired of running and that she wants to fight, that the truth is on their side. Kemi tells her that she's the one who killed Kola and is the one who would suffer for it, but Sarah replies that they are in it together and that whatever happens to Kemi happens to her too. Both girls come out and approach Inspector Joe. He tells them that he knows what Kola did and that he wants to help them. Just then, they all hear gunshots. Inspector Joe pulls out his gun and runs towards the sound. It gets to the scene and we see Femi and Yinka dead on the ground, while Timeye has the gun pointed to her mother's head. Inspector Joe tries to talk her out of shooting her mother. He puts the gun on the ground and tells her not to do it as Sarah and Kemi watch on. A determined Timeye, still with the gun locked on her mother's head, says with chilling finality, "It's done," as we fade to black. And that's it for today's final recap episode of the Netflix series Blood Sisters. Stay with us with Green Road TV Productions. We invite you to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more juicy content. Just click on the icon above. It's really easy. See you next time.